in our community, Ms. Satori Shakur, who has been with UUAA, our community, before. Satori and I met locally in Ann Arbor, socially initially, in local Ann Arbor storytelling circles. And we had the opportunity to get to know each other better since then. Satori, as Carter mentioned, is a former bride of Funkenstein. It's part of the George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic, which many of us might know, and went on from there to found, based in Detroit, a local, a storytelling community known as the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, which meets at the Wright Museum of African American History. I had the distinct privilege and honor of being Satori's guest a couple years ago there to partake and share a story in that community. And this gift and power, which we know, so many of us know that the healing power of personal storytelling and how impactful it is too. It touches us, it touches our souls in such powerful and deep ways. The United Nations recognized this too and invited Satori to travel globally, to share with other communities around the world the healing power, the creative impact of storytelling. So she's done this not only in Michigan, but around the world. Could you join me, please, in extending a very warm UU Ann Arbor welcome to Ms. Satori Shakur.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just say that, first of all, gratitude is my religion. Thank you is my only prayer. So I thank you, Reverend Manish, and the church. I thank the veterans for your service and your service beyond service. Were you there when they shot my son Trayvon? Were you there when they left him on the ground? Oh, that long. Sometimes it causes me to tremble, I can't breathe since they shot my son Trayvon. When I lived in Los Angeles in the early 90s, I would drive down to South Central LA every Friday night and go to the African American Culture Center, where I would listen to Dr. Maulana Karanga interpret the news from a Black perspective. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Karanga is, he invented the African American holiday Kwanzaa that celebrated all over the world. He's a professor of Africana Studies at Cal State Long Beach and a cultural Black nationalist. He's round, jolly, charismatic, funny, smart, and I love listening to him break it down. I loved it so much, I'd go back on certain Sunday afternoons when he would invite guests who were activists, intellectuals, scholars, who would lecture on Black power and Black empowerment in the areas of their expertise. And that's when I met Neely Fuller Jr. He's a sociologist, and that's where I heard Neely Fuller Jr. say, if you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is, how it works, everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. Come on. I understood white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works. How could I not? With listening to these brilliant intellectuals. Plus, I'm Black. Now, I thought I understood. Now it's August 2006. I'm back in Detroit where I was born and raised. It's the weekend, I'm running errands. Cleaners, post office. I walk into a CVS pharmacy to return a portable CD player that isn't working properly. I approach the clerk, tell her my issue, show her my receipt, and she pulls a replacement CD off the shelf and says, "Have a nice day." And I'm on my way out of the store, but wait a minute. Do you mind testing this out? Because if it doesn't work, I would hate to bring it back. And she says, "Sure." And she grabs a fresh pack of batteries off the rack, opens the CD player, pops them in, and the LED lights right up. That's when I realized that the CD player I was bringing back is defective. I want a refund. She says, "Let me get my manager from the back." Now, middle-aged white man, about 5'9", belly over his belt, walks out from the back. He looks at the CD player and says, "Well, where's the packaging that came with the CD player?" I said, "Oh, I threw it away because I fully expected the product to work." I said, "But I do have the receipt and I only bought it a couple days ago." He looks at the receipt, hands it back and says, "If you want a refund, you'll have to write the manufacturer." Why? I bought it from here. I bought it from CVS. Now he's standing right underneath the CVS store policy sign that says in big black bold letters, "No hassle returns, full refund within 30 days with a receipt." So I point out the sign to him, and he seems agitated, angry almost that I'm showing him the sign. And I'm like, I can feel his whiteness all over me, judging my shoulder-length dreadlocks, my oversized t-shirt and baggy pants. "If you want a refund, you'll have to write the manufacturer." Okay, so I take the replacement CD and head for the door. He runs ahead of me and blocks my exit. I move to the right, he moves to the right. I move to the left, he moves to the left. He forces me back in the store and tells the cashier, "Call the police." I said, "Yeah, call the police. This guy won't let me out the store." Next thing I know, he has me in a chokehold, wraps his legs around mine, pulls my feet from underneath me, and boom, my knees hit the floor, boom, my chin hit the floor, and I'm stunned. I see him kick my purse to a pair of feet that I later find out belonged to his son. And then I feel his overweight, sweaty body on top of mine restraining me. I will never forget the weight of his body on top of me restraining me. "You better hope you don't have a record downtown." What? "I'm making a citizen's arrest." "For what?" "You tried to steal the packaging." Huh? I can see the feet of the customers standing in line waiting to pay for their items. And I can't see their faces. And I swear to God, they can't see mine, because I have never been so humiliated in my life. I don't know how many moments later, but I hear the voices of two white officers coming to the store. They tell the store manager to get off me, and he tells his partner, "Check this guy out. He was on top of her when I came in." They check my purse for weapons. There are none. And he takes me outside to question me while his partner takes the store manager to the back. When he sees me limping, he offers me a seat in front of his squad car while I fill out the police report. I'm shook. I'm traumatized. I'm shaking in tears while I tell the police officer what happened. He looks at me, scratches his head, and he looks confused, and he says, "In the 27 years I've been on the Southfield police force, this is the first one. This is the first one new one to me, and you have the receipt." Now I'm trying to make sense of it too. And I hear me saying to him that my mother died last year. My son died 3 weeks ago. I have a numb anger, a hole in my soul. Maybe my grieving attracted the violence to me. I didn't have a clue. I did not understand at the time that I was victim blaming myself. It was my fault that this white store manager assaulted and falsely imprisoned me. Police officer's partner comes out of the store. He has a piece of plastic in his hand that I recognize as the packaging to the CD player. And I hear them confer and chuckle, well, maybe we should keep this for evidence. And then they tell me that the store manager said basically the same thing I said. I'm thinking, if the store manager said basically the same thing I said, why is it that at the end of his story, I'm a criminal? They asked me, do I want to go to the hospital? I said, no, I just want to go home. And when I get home, I sit down at my computer and I document everything that has happened to me. I pour my trauma, my shock, my anger, my pain into a 6-page email that I send to CVS headquarters. The next day, I get a call from CVS Damage Control. Ms. Shakur, we're so sorry about what happened to you yesterday. What would you like us to do? I hear me telling them, well, I don't want him to lose his job. I mean, jobs are hard to come by now, but maybe he shouldn't be a manager because clearly he doesn't know how to interact with the public. They said, well, Ms. Shakur, we fired the store manager and his son this morning. And I remember feeling sorry for him that he lost his job. Meanwhile, I've got to take a week off from mine from singing and dancing in a musical downtown because of bruises on my knees. I didn't know it at the time. I did not have a clue that I was giving myself a standing ovation. No, I took the high road. I forgave him. I put this white man's well-being ahead of mine. I'm a good little Negro. Friends had to convince me to sue him. I was sitting in front of the black attorney saying, well, maybe he can do community service. The attorney says, well, we're not suing him. We're suing the corporation who made it possible for him to be in that position to do what he did to you. And unfortunately, the only thing they understand is when you hit them in the pocket. Okay. For the next 2 years, I suffered from PTSD. Every time I drive past a CVS store, I have an anxiety attack. I can't breathe. I don't walk inside a CVS store for 10 years for fear I might get beat up. If someone touches me on the shoulder unexpectedly, I jump out of my skin. If your voice gets too close to my ear, I scream. I'm the poster child for the angry Black woman. A couple of years later, I get a settlement for $25,000 from CVS. A tip to the Black woman with the PTSD. A year later, Barack Obama's president. I lose that $25,000 and all my other investments when Wall Street crashes and too big to fail fails. Neely Fuller Jr. said, if you don't understand white supremacy, racism, what it is, how it works, everything else you do understand will only confuse you. I thought I understood. I was breastfed on activism. I was recruited into the Black Panther Party in junior high school. I remember sitting on my front porch with my stepmother Sadie, watching the 1967 Detroit riots like it was a movie. I walked past National Guard holding guns, sitting on tanks on my street corners every day until one day they were just gone. When I was 16, I washed my straightened hair to get a nappy afro, hoping I could wash white Jesus out of my brain and replace him with Black Jesus, to no avail. To this day, Jesus is a blue-eyed, blonde white man gazing up into a beam of light. My only concession, he will never be my savior because I'm created in the image of God. For years and years and years and years, I suffered the slings and arrows of microaggressions and racial injustices leveled against me. I marched, I protested, I raised my voice. No justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. When Rodney King was beaten to a pulp by 4 white police officers to the tune of not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. I walked off of my corporate job, fist in the air, into the streets of LA to join the other protesters over to the AME church. only to walk out on the outdated, tired Martin Luther King messages of nonviolent protests. Hour later, I'm all up in my apartment, flinching from the sound of gunshots and sirens and helicopters and glass breaking against concrete. I remember how we waited for the profound words of Rodney King would speak after the verdict. And Rodney said, "Can we all just get along?" No, we can't, Rodney. But then Barack Obama said, "Yes, we can. Yes, we can." And Trump said it's a hoax. Fake news. Make America great again. 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 I thought I understood. Until last year, 2020, when I got my 2020 vision and COVID-19 and the execution of George Floyd changed the world. I think about all the Black and brown people and other otherized people and those who supported them, who have been falsely imprisoned, murdered, executed, lynched for centuries and centuries and centuries before George Floyd died. I think about all the Black and brown people and other otherized people and those who support them who have been murdered since. And the hits just keep on coming. Not guilty, not guilty, qualified immunity. Nothing changes. And I realize I don't understand nothing about white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works. Oh, and that made me sad, angry, but mostly just powerless. No one wants to feel powerless. So I asked myself, is it enough to understand it intellectually? Is it enough to march and protest and vote and donate and raise my voice? What else can I do to end racism in my lifetime? How can I use my life in the service of a world that works for everyone, with no one and nothing left out? Because racism is killing us, all of us, each and every one of us, a little bit every day. Now, I take Neely Fuller's words to heart. I decide to investigate his claim. I decide to go on a quest to understand. And that's when I meet what I call the chip. Yeah, the chip is like a computer program. It's been embedded in my brain since birth. It's been grooming me since the day I was born to be a soldier in the army of white supremacy. I'm shocked to discover that I've been marching 24/7, nonstop, in the service of perpetuating racism, in the big, fat, global lie of white superiority and the religion of capitalism. Ooh, it scares me to think that I'm being used by something without my knowledge, without my permission, something I can't even see. My hands are dirty in this thing. I'm complicit, I'm complacent, I'm compliant. But then everybody's hands are dirty in this thing. We're all complicit, complacent, and compliant. Because everybody got a chip. Obama got a chip, Oprah got a chip, Trump got a chip, Honey Boo Boo, Pookie, and Nay Nay. We all got a chip. And depending on your race, class, creed, gender, color, culture, chip tells you how to see good people on both sides. Tells you how to listen to your echo chambers. Tells you what to say, not say, do, not do, be, not be, so you don't have to think about how to react when you're in certain uncomfortable and threatening situations. I'm a Black woman. My chip has programmed me to believe that I'm not worthy. I'm subordinate, not as pretty, not as smart. I shouldn't even try to compete with my white counterparts. I know that's a lie, but the chip has programmed me to shut up, let it go, girl. Keep it moving. Because you might not get that job and you know you need that job. Every time I try to step out of the box of my program, the chip places me right back in to keep on marching in the service of perpetuating racism and the big fat global lie of white superiority. Because a lie that big and that twisted needs everybody to participate and to buy in. I thought I understood. So when I married my husband almost 4 years ago, I promised him I would keep a clean house. But I'm not going to clean it. I'm not going to do it. I'm busy. So I decided I'm going to hire a house cleaner. I want to hire Black, so I get all the necessary references and I hire LaToya. And she is great. Husband comes home, house smells like Fabulosa. Shoes are lined up all neatly in the closet. Everything is organized and in its proper place. Her attention to detail is unmatched. Problem is, she's spending 9 hours in my house cleaning. My house is hostage, but I don't say anything because she does a good job. Well, a couple of months later, I go to meet a friend for lunch. I come back home and the lower part of the house looks exactly like it did before I left. I don't hear anything. I tiptoe to the staircase to listen, and I hear LaToya up there popping gum, talking to her friends, having a good old time. And that's when my chip gets triggered. I turn into what my mother used to call Miss Ann. She's up there having a good time. I'm paying her by the hour, and I don't mind paying her by the hour, but I don't like the feeling I'm being played while she stretches her coffee break by 2 hours. Oh yes, I'm on my way up there to check LaToya, but wait, malfunction. There's nothing in the CHIP program that tells a Black woman how to check a Black housekeeper, especially when my mother was a Black housekeeper. So I disrupt the CHIP. I check it and I ask her for, a flat rate. Because when I would walk past the kitchen when I was a kid, I would hear my mother gossiping with girlfriends on the wall phone in the kitchen. She accused me of stealing. And what I want with them old clothes. And then when she find the bag sitting over by the furnace, had the nerve to ask me did I want to come back to work. And you know she wanted me to call her 5- and 6-year-old snotty-nosed kids, Mrs. and Master. Oh, no, I didn't take that job. I don't want to leave LaToya traumatized like my mother. I ask her for a flat rate. She gives me one. She's in and out in 5 hours and everything is fine for months until she falls in love and becomes a Hebrew Israelite. Now, I don't have anything against any religion. Everything, all religions are fine with me. But when she falls in love and becomes a Hebrew Israelite, she becomes unreliable. Cancel, reschedule. Cancel, reschedule. Oh, my dog ate his vomit. I gotta take him to the vet. Forgot, tonight is Shabbat. Cancel, reschedule. Cancel, reschedule. I'm telling my husband, LaToya's coming tomorrow. LaToya's coming next week. LaToya's coming. LaToya's coming. Cancel. Meanwhile, the dust is piling up on my tabletops. And I promised my husband I'd keep a clean house. LaToya better come clean my house. Cancel. So I called Angie's List. Angie sends me 5 referrals with 5-star ratings. I call the first one. Kimberly, a white middle-aged woman, looks like a hippie with tats all up and down her arm with a Cruella de Vil hairdo, comes to give me a walkthrough and a fee. Now, my chip is triggered. I don't know whether I can trust a white woman to clean my Black house. But when she tell me she gonna get the dust off the blinds, get the dust off the ceiling fans, wash the floor and make the beds, I said, you're hired. She comes back the next week with a partner. They go upstairs to start cleaning and I hear noises. Oh, my chip is triggered, it's on fire. I'm having a PTSD fantasy. Are they upstairs booby trapping my house? Am I gonna find a noose in the closet? Are they dropping my African art on the floor? Calm down, I have to calm myself down. Calm down, girl. They're just cleaning up there. Now I'm in between Zoom meetings So I click on Netflix, because what else is there to do during COVID? I'm watching the movies, and then I hear them coming downstairs. About an hour later, I switch off Netflix. And my chip turns me into a step infection, because I can't let this white woman see me sitting here looking lazy. I can't let her see me sitting here looking like a stereotype, like I'm not doing nothing. So I pull my laptop up on my lap, and I pretend I can type it. It's a flashback to my 10th days when my boss used to walk by and say, Satori, are you working? Yes, I am. As I minimize the solitaire game on my computer desktop. Yes, I am. I have to talk to my chip. I'm in a debate. Girl, this is your house. You can do whatever you want to in your house. You are free in your house. But I can't square this white woman cleaning my black house. I'm uncomfortable. So I go in the kitchen so I can give her my black version of the white privilege story. You know, my mother was a maid, and I used to help her clean during breaks from college in the summer. College? Did she go to college? Oh my God, is my privilege showing? Should I offer her that bag of old clothes I was gonna take to the Salvation Army? And then I realized this woman don't care nothing about what I'm saying. She probably want me to get out of her face so she can finish her job, get paid, go to the next house and make some more money. Because this is her business. She drove up in a white van with her logo splashed across it. She called a colleague to bring her a vacuum cleaner part that drove up in an identical white van with her logo splashed across it. She has a fleet of maids. She's a corporation. My mother had a job. She took the bus to Grosse Pointe to clean houses for $18 a day plus car fare. She was excluded at the time from the Social Security Act. She couldn't get unemployment benefits and no retirement benefits. This is not the same thing, girl. Go sit down and stop chipping. So I sit down and write her the check. She's out of the house in 3 hours. She comes back a few weeks later with her husband. He taps all up and down his arm. My chip tracks him as a white supremacist, but I check the chip. I don't pay it no mind, because he and Kimberly, they clean a good house. Now, I pause, I sit down, I think about how I let that chip use me for 3 hours. Subtracted 3 hours from my life trying to work out a white woman cleaning my black house. I think about the years, my whole life of the chip navigating my black body through spaces. When you walk into Bird Dog Goodman, don't act like a criminal. How do you not act like a criminal when you're not a criminal? When you go to that job interview, straighten your hair, the code switch, making sure you put ING on the words, and for God's sake, don't say ain't. I walk into a room and it's all white people. I look for the exit and another black face. And then I just go, am I okay? Am I safe? Am I right? Chip uses me not to say what there is to say so I can keep little phony, inauthentic agreements in place in my relationships. Yeah. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is, how it works, everything else you do understand will only confuse you. By now, I'm using Neely Fuller's words as a roadmap to my moment-to-moment freedom. And I decide to go on an inner search and destroy mission. Find the chip, disrupt it, dismantle it, destroy it in every necessary moment of life. Because if I want to end racism, I have to look at how the chip is using me. First thing I do is I stop getting into little arguments and debates with white people about their denial of white privilege. It's the chip. Denial has a certain comfort. When people who are clearly racist tell me they're not racist, I believe them. Fish don't know what water is. When some white people do the crazy things they do, like dress up like animals, paint their bodies, storm the Capitol with a noose looking for Mike Pence, I understand. It's the chip. It's using them just like it's using me. Problem is, we don't know it. And that's what makes us dangerous. Dangerous. Now I'm looking for some hope. So I'm on YouTube and I hear a lecture by Dr. Joyce DeGruy. She wrote the book, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder. And she says the highest value is in the relationship between people. The highest value is in our relationship between people. So a few months ago, Charlie LaDuff, a loudmouth Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, asked me would I be on his podcast, No BS News. Now I'm all about no BS, and I love me a loudmouth. So I'm on Charlie's show the next week, chopping it up, laughing, having fun, when he starts talking about ex-felon, ex-mayor Kwame Kilpatrick's wedding, and how awful the optics were that Mayor Mike Duggan is there. And what did I think? I said, well, I think that if you do the time, pay for the crime, you're free to invite whomever you want to your wedding. Yeah, I know that, but this is a corrupt politician. These are corrupt cronies. I need to hold them accountable. They need to apologize to me. And I said, you're right, Charlie. Everybody should be held accountable for their actions. But I like to get to the root of things. And at the root of things is white supremacy. Oh no, you're talking BS. You're talking in phraseologies. I said, Charlie, you said you left $1 million on the table when some journalistic outlets wanted you to talk about puppies and rainbows, and you wanted to talk about corrupt politicians and racism. That's right. I said you started No BS News so you could have freedom of speech and full self-expression. That's right. But Charlie, had you stayed, you would have been used to promote the political agendas of these outlets. All I'm saying is that I like to get to the root of things. And at the root of things is the system of white supremacy, the system of advantage and oppression. And until you dismantle that, you're going to be writing about corrupt politicians and racism for the rest of your life. And whoever sits in those seats of power will be used, Charlie. Oh, I don't want to talk about this, and we move on to different topics, and the show is over. I don't feel complete. So I called Charlie a few days later, and he's cool. You know, low key, nothing like his on-air personality. And I said, Charlie, when I was talking about white male supremacy, I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about individuals. I know that. I said, if you know that, then you know that I'm talking about a system of advantage and oppression. I'm talking about an institution, a machine, like a 24/7 Oz God. It's the context for our life. All we are content producers. All of our stories are a testimony to either how well the system is working to our benefit and advantage and or to our demise. And until you dismantle that, you'll be right. You might as well write about puppies and rainbows because nothing will ever change. That's all I'm saying, Charlie. And then I tell them about the chip. The chip? Yeah, the chip. Depending on your race, class, creed, gender, color, culture, tells you how to see that bag of Skittles like it's a gun, how to listen to your echo chambers, what to say, not say, do, not do, be, not be, so you don't have to think when you're in certain uncomfortable and threatening situations. And I tell them how I'm on an inner search and destroy mission to dismantle my chip, destroy it. And I invite him to do the same. And then I thank him. I thank him for calling out corrupt politicians, holding them accountable. I thank him for bringing us bull BS-free news, because it's important. And then we hang up. And I feel complete. And I'm here to say that all those years ago, listening to Neely Fuller, his words have now become a roadmap to my moment-to-moment freedom. Investigating his claim has led me to answer a few questions like, what else can I do to end racism in my lifetime? How can I use my life in the service of a world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out? Yeah, I will continue to march and protest and raise my voice and donate and vote. But more importantly, I will find the chip, disrupt it, dismantle it, destroy it in every necessary moment of my life so I can get on the other side where there's love and freedom. So I invite you to do the same. Because I will live in a chipless world, a new world. So I have to stop chipping. And in the words of that great philosopher, George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic fame, free your mind and your behind, and your chip will follow. Thank you for listening.